Welcome to the Pachehra Talks. Today, in this video, we will try to understand the reasoning behind multiple subscriptions used for Azure Landing Zone. So, you must have seen in Azure Landing Zone what we do. We create multiple subscriptions. If I the enterprise architecture of landing zone, or maybe a simple hub and spoke model, so that we create while using the multiple subscriptions most of the time. Well, it depends on many factors, but this video is not about those factors to decide how to do it, but it's more about why we use multiple subscriptions for Azure landing zone. For example, we usually have a connectivity subscription. Okay, here we have all the resources related to the connectivity, like firewall, VPN gateway, or maybe app gateway, and things like that, right? Then we have another subscription here, which is your identity subscription. Identity subscription, here we have everything related to the identity. You may have additional domain controllers and you implement all those PIM, uh, access management, and other identity related things from this subscription. Then you have another subscription, which is your management subscription, right? Management subscription, you have all those things which is for management, like your cost management, your Azure automation, right? Your monitoring and your other stuff related to management comes under this management subscription. Then you have another subscriptions for your, and all these three subscriptions as per Azure landing zone are called platform, right? Then you have other subscriptions as well, which are for your production applications, right? So for example, you have uh, production subscription, you have DR subscription for DR workload. You may have your own hub and spoke in DR, but that's not the uh, uh, question that we are addressing right now. Then we have sandbox, maybe we might have dev and test. So ultimately, when we create the Azure uh, landing zone, it consists of multiple subscriptions. So we are just trying to understand why multiple subscriptions. We can have everything in a single subscription that maybe a small organization uses. So let's try to find out the reasoning why we use multiple subscription in Azure landing zone. So let me come here. Okay. All right. So very first thing, very first thing is different subscriptions allow us to segment and manage resources, right? It's not like you have to go inside a single subscription then divide through resources. It would be very really complex. But if we use different subscriptions, it will be an ease for us for the management. So different subscriptions allow us to segment and manage resources and cost separately as well. So this can be useful for budgeting, chargeback, or showback models, ensuring that each department or project can be built accurately. So we can say resource and cost management. Usually in big organizations, they have multiple business units and they have their allocated cost centers, their budgets. So you can easily trace that if you have organized your resources under different management groups, different subscriptions, and simply go to the cost and get that information from there. So resource and cost management is one of the reason to have multiple subscriptions in our learning zone. Then the second reason is isolation and security. You can easily relate this because using multiple subscriptions helps us to isolate resources and workloads, right? Because all the identity resources are there in identity subscription, connectivity is there in connectivity subscription, different production business units are in their own subscriptions, so they are, it's isolated and secure, right? Because if one of the subscription compromise, the other one is still intact because it is isolated from there, so hence enhancing the security as well. So this isolation improves security by limiting the potential blast radius of a security breach. If one subscription is compromised, the other remains unaffected. Then the third point, we can say compliance and governance. The ultimate reason of doing the resource organization is governance. The best way we can govern all the resources. Hence, different subscriptions can be configured to comply with very varying regulatory requirements. You may have running some application which needs to be compliant with some regulatory requirement, for example, PCI. You can have that particular subscription for that dedicated subscription for that particular application and apply those governance policies there. So you're not affecting the entire organization. Maybe they did not to follow that compliance. Moreover, when you audit your compliance, it would be easy for you to see and go through this single subscription. So this allow organization to meet specific compliance needs for different business units or projects. Now, the fourth point is scalability and limits. We also call our Azure learning zone as modular and scalable because you can increase or decrease the. You can simply keep think each subscription as a module which is connected to the centralized shared services hub. You can add there more subscription and you can remove if you don't need that. So modular and scalable. So Azure, one more thing regarding the limits, because Azure imposes limits on resources within a subscription. If you are a big enterprise, by using multiple subscription, you can bypass these limits and scale your environment more effectively. Now, take this example further. You are a big organization and you started new project. You have another application which should be the part of the existing landing zone. So you can create another subscription, hook it up with the shared services, utilize those services, and start working on that. So scalability from the perspective of landing zone as well, and from the perspective of the resources. So scalability and limits. Then we have environment separation, which is something needed for the administration. So multiple subscriptions can be used to separate environments such as development, testing, production, as we have shown at the beginning. This separation ensures that changes in one environment do not affect the whatever running is in the another. So it will help from that separation perspective as well. You are not impacting the other environments, though they are similar as per the best practices but not the same, because in dev environment you will not run as big machines like a production environment, but you will run the similar machines so that testing would remain intact. Then we have access management would be easy for us because RBAC can be applied at the subscription level, making it easier to manage permissions and access to different teams or projects rather going through one inside other, like going to subscription, then resource group, then resource, then multiple resource group. That would be too headache or granular in that sentence to manage that. But it would be easy if you know this subscription belong to this particular application and these folks are managing these applications. You can easily manage the RBAC there. So access management become easy if you have multiple subscription, and the less human error, which is the ask need. We don't want any human errors there. We want it to manage it properly because it is. We also want to make it secure. If the access management is perfect, it is additional for the security. Then regional independency. One more thing we can say: regional independence. Dance. because different subscription can be set up to use different Azure regions, allowing for better management of data residency and performance optimization across different geographical locations. Right. So it doesn't mean this is usually we are talking about the medium or the big organization. If you are running just couple of machines, you can utilize the single subscriptions. You can create multiple VNet if one act like an hub, other act like a spoke. But this is we are just talking about the Azure Enterprise Landing Zone, why it is created with the multiple subscription, though we can have everything set up in the single subscription as well, or two or three subscription. Why we are dividing into platform and the application landing zone. So these are some big reasons behind this kind of segregation. This will help us in management, in security, and help us from the business perspective, because all different subscription belong to different business unit. They can have their own cost management, easy for managing all those things. Isolation, compliance, scalability, all those things are the reasoning behind it. So that's all in today's video. I hope it was interesting and you liked it. Well, thank you for watching, and you guys have a wonderful day. Let me write down landing zone with multiple subscription. Why? So these are the reason. That's why. I hope you liked it. Thank you for watching.